The evening was unfolding in the most unexpected way. I had never thought that the person I trusted the most would be the one to break me. It all started innocently enough. We were at a mutual friend's party, and I had been planning this moment for months. Everything was set. The place, the timing, the perfect proposal speech. But as I approached her, I heard something that would change the course of everything. She was sitting with her friends, laughing loudly. The group of them were in their own little world, oblivious to my presence. As I neared them, I heard my name come up in the conversation. At first I thought it was nothing, just casual chatter among friends. But then, her words cut through me like a dagger. "I'll brutally dump him after he proposes," she said, her voice clear and mocking as her friends burst into laughter. The way she said it, so casually without any hesitation, sent a chill down my spine. I stood there frozen for a moment, my heart sinking to the pit of my stomach. I had been planning for weeks to ask her to marry me, to take our relationship to the next level. But in that instant, I realized that the love I had been holding on to was just a joke to her. She didn't even have the decency to keep her cruelty to herself. She laughed about it with her friends, as if my feelings didn't matter at all. But I couldn't let my emotions take over. I had been through too much in my life to let something like this destroy me. I took a deep breath, pushing my hurt to the side. I had to stay calm. My face remained an emotionless mask as I approached her group. "Hey, can I talk to you for a moment?" I asked, my voice calm, controlled. Her eyes flicked to me, and I could see the hint of surprise in them. She had no idea I had hurt her. Her friends quickly quieted down, sensing the tension in the air. But I didn't care about them, not in that moment. She stood up, walking a few steps toward me with a puzzled expression. "What's up?" she asked, her tone more casual than I could ever imagine after what I'd just overheard. "I heard everything," I said quietly, still holding my composure. "About you dumping me after I propose." For a brief second, I saw the color drain from her face, as though she hadn't expected me to confront her. I didn't mean it like that," she stammered, her voice faltering for the first time. I shook my head. "No, it's fine. You were clear. And you know what? I'm actually glad you said it." Her confusion deepened, and I could see her trying to come up with some excuse, some explanation. But I wasn't going to wait for it. "I've learned a lot about myself tonight," I continued, my voice steady. "About what I deserve. And about the kind of person I should be with. Someone who respects me, not someone who laughs at my expense." She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand, stopping her. "This is where it ends. I'm not going to be part of your joke anymore." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless. I didn't look back. 1. I felt the weight of what had just happened as I walked out of the party. The night air was cool, a stark contrast to the warmth I'd once felt whenever I was with her. I was supposed to be filled with excitement, about to propose the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. Instead, I was suffocating in the realization that everything I had believed in had been nothing more than a fantasy. The streets were empty, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the silence as I made my way back to my apartment. My mind was a whirlwind, spinning with thoughts of betrayal, disbelief, and the kind of pain that only someone who truly trusted another could understand. But even in the chaos of my emotions, I found myself thinking one thing. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something much bigger. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I focused. I was not going to be that person who falls apart after being humiliated. I had to make it right, not for her, but for myself. She may have thought she was in control, that I was just another pawn in her game, but she was wrong. I was going to turn this situation around and show her that I was not someone to be underestimated. As I got to my apartment, I didn't waste any time. I grabbed my phone and started drafting a message. Not to her, but to my best friend. someone who had always supported me, someone who understood what I was going through. It was time for a plan, and this was step one. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just walking away from a relationship that had been built on lies. I was going to leave with my head held high. I was going to move on, but in a way that made it clear that I wasn't broken. I was stronger than ever, and I wasn't going to let her think she could play with me. I sent the message, and within minutes, my phone buzzed. It was my friend, asking me how I was doing. I replied simply, "I need your help. It's time to get my life back." The next few days were filled with planning. I spent time reflecting on everything, piecing together the puzzle of how it had all fallen apart. There were signs, little moments where things didn't feel right, but I had ignored them, blinded by my feelings for her. Now I saw everything with clarity, and that clarity was what fueled me. I knew that I had to confront her, not with anger, but with calm, calculated control. She was going to regret laughing at me, and I was going to make sure of it. But first, I had to gather everything. I reached out to a few mutual friends who could help me piece together her true character, the person she had been hiding behind her fake smiles and sweet words. It didn't take long to realize that I wasn't the only one who had been manipulated. There were others who had felt the sting of her cruelty, but none of us had ever spoken up. I knew that I couldn't be the only one to carry the weight of this. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. A week passed, and I felt like a different person. The plans were in place, and the time to confront her had finally arrived. I wasn't going to beg for answers. I wasn't going to plead for her to love me. This was going to be about exposing the truth, about making sure she saw the consequences of her actions. It was the day of the confrontation. I had arranged for us to meet at a cafe where we had shared so many memories. It felt fitting. When she arrived, she seemed surprised to see me so calm. She wasn't used to me being anything but the loving, devoted boyfriend she had taken for granted. I didn't waste time with small talk. "You know why we're here," I said, my voice firm, controlled. She gave a small, nervous laugh, clearly trying to play it off. "I don't know what you're talking about." I leaned in slightly, my gaze unwavering. "I heard everything. The jokes you made with your friends about me. How you planned to dump me after I proposed. It's all clear now. But I'm not here to beg for an explanation. I'm here to make sure you understand something. I'm not the person you think I am." She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her smile faltering. "I didn't mean it like that," she tried to say, but I wasn't interested in her excuses anymore. "You didn't mean it? You said it loud enough for everyone to hear. You laughed about it. And now you think you can just pretend it didn't happen? It's over, and you need to understand that. You don't get to treat people like this and walk away without consequences." Her face reddened, and for the first time, I saw genuine panic in her eyes. It wasn't because she cared about me, but because she realized that I had outgrown her. I wasn't the naive guy who would chase after her anymore. "I'm done," I said simply, standing up to leave. "But before I go, I want you to think about how you treat people. Maybe one day, you'll regret this, but that's not my problem anymore." 1. The days that followed were filled with a sense of freedom I hadn't realized I was missing. For so long, I had been trapped in the idea of what I thought was a perfect relationship, but in reality, I had been holding on to something that wasn't real. The weight of that knowledge was heavy at first, but it soon became a source of strength. I no longer had to worry about walking on eggshells, trying to be the person she wanted me to be. I could finally be myself, free from the chains of manipulation and lies. I spent the next few weeks focused on rediscovering who I was. I reconnected with old friends, ones who had been there before her and who saw me for who I truly was. I took time for myself, indulging in hobbies and activities that I had put aside while I was so consumed with her. It was as though I had been living in a fog, and now that it had lifted, the world seemed clearer, brighter, and full of endless possibilities. But as time passed, I found myself thinking back to the moment we had shared in the cafe. Her face, the look of shock, of realization that she had lost something real. I didn't regret how I had handled it. In fact, I knew it was the only way I could have left that chapter of my life behind. But something still lingered within me, a question I couldn't shake off. Had she really been so cruel? Or was I just a stepping stone for her to figure out who she really was? I wasn't sure, and honestly, I didn't want to waste any more energy wondering about it. I had moved on, but the emotional scars remained, not because of her, but because of what I had allowed to happen. I had let someone else dictate my worth for too long, and now I was learning to reclaim it. One evening, I received a message from her. It was short, simple, and to the point. "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you." I stared at the message for a long time, the words almost too easy to believe. She had reached out before, trying to explain herself, but this time something felt different. I could sense her desperation, a last-ditch effort to regain some control over the situation. But I had already moved on. I had already made peace with what had happened. I didn't respond. And it felt good. It felt like the final nail in the coffin, the closure I had been seeking all along. Days turned into weeks, and my life continued to evolve. I found a new sense of purpose, one that didn't rely on anyone else's approval or validation. I focused on building a life that was mine and mine alone. It wasn't easy. There were days when the loneliness crept in, reminding me of what I'd lost. But then I would remember everything that had happened, and I knew it was for the best. I had learned to trust myself again, and that was something no one could take away from me. Then one afternoon, out of nowhere, I received an unexpected call from her. It had been a while since I had last heard from her, and in all honesty, I wasn't sure I was ready for whatever she had to say. But this time, there was something different in her tone, a hint of genuine regret that I hadn't heard before. "I know I've hurt you," she said, her voice softer than I expected. "And I don't expect you to forgive me. But I just wanted you to know that I've changed. I realize now how wrong I was, and I'm sorry." I didn't say anything for a moment, letting her words sink in. The old me would have been tempted to jump at the chance to fix things, to reconcile, to make it work. But the new me, stronger, wiser, and far more self-aware, simply replied, "It's too late." She didn't argue. The silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. I could almost hear the realization dawn on her, the understanding that what she had lost wasn't something that could be easily regained. And that was it. I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of finality wash over me. It was over. Not just the relationship, but the cycle of pain and regret I had been stuck in for so long. I was free, truly free. As I sat there, reflecting on everything that had happened, I couldn't help but wonder, did she really mean it when she said she had changed? Or was she just trying to get back into my life because she realized what she had lost? It didn't matter now. I had learned the hard way that some people are just not meant to be in your life, no matter how much you want them to be. And then I smiled, because I knew I was stronger than ever before. How would you have handled the situation if you were in my shoes? Do you believe people can truly change? Or do they just try to manipulate their way back into your life when it suits them? What do you think is more important, the apology or the actions that follow it?